welcome. I'm Daniel G. Garza, and this is the first episode of the new season. Welcome to season 3 of Put It Together on live stream. We've been doing these. Let me just change some of this information. There we go. Just adjusting things. Live TV, folks. Live TV. But welcome. Yes. So excited. Season 3 of Put It Together. We've shortened the name. We've took out the conversations, but we're still having the conversation. So I want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for all the support in the last couple of years. For those of you that don't know the backstory, we went from podcasting to live streams, and this is our 3rd year starting. And I'm a little nervous and excited because there are there's so much. I'm so excited because okay, let me take a deep breath. Some of my favorite people are on the show today. For those of you that don't know the story of the Cardivo and how all that started, back in 2012, I was working at a little shop here in Laguna Beach called the Chakra, and it's a specialty shop. So the reason I started working there is because I was starting to discover my own personal gifts, and I was able to meet people that came into the shop and kind of figure out if they had some gift or some something they could contribute or something that they could teach me. And I gathered about 20 people at first that I wanted to invite over to my place and do some kind of an event or a class or a workshop. People that were kind of at my level spiritually, energetically, intuitively, empathically, whatever. And over that first several weeks, it narrowed down from about 20 people to a very small group, about 8 people. And we hung out every 2 weeks for a couple of hours, showing each other our gifts, teaching each other what we were doing. And in a prediction, a reader had told me when I first asked her about, is this something I should do? She told me it's going to be about 2 years and then everybody will grow their wings and just go on their way. And I thought, okay, cool. And I kind of forgot about that until about the 2-year mark. And then about 2 years, we all just started growing. We got the jobs we wanted. We got the partners we wanted, the relationships. We got to move to different places. It was just really incredible to watch everybody grow and stretch their arms. Well, it was sad, but I knew that the bond that we created would last forever, and it's lived on for 10 years, because this year we celebrate 10 years. The group was called Light Nights, and aside from the guests that I have on the show tonight, there were other people: Angie, Armandi, Matt, Martha, Amber. There were so many other people that helped, that were part of the group, that are not, we just don't stay in touch as much, but if they're watching the show, we love you, and we still have a place for you in our hearts, and we send you positive energy. Angie Armandi will be on the show later because she's doing some amazing work in other aspects of her professional life, but she'll be on the show soon. And I forgot to say at the beginning, see, that's how nervous I was. For all of our friends on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Twitter, thank you for watching the show. Please do us a favor and reshare this so that some your friends and family can watch along. If you're watching us on YouTube, will you do us a favor, scroll down, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell, and you'll get notified every time a new show posts on the YouTube page. Thank you so much. Without further, hold on, I got some messages here. There we go. All right, cool. And I want to thank everybody who's already watching. I'm going to bring first Berkeley. Hello, Berkeley.
Hello. How are you?
How are you, sweetheart?
I'm good. I'm a little tired, but I'm all right. I had caffeine earlier today and I'm crashing a little bit. So I'm going to pep back up with my little unicorn cup. Hello, Nancy, and everyone else. Feel free to comment below. I'll say a little wave. So yeah, if I start talking faster and faster as the stream goes, we know that the caffeine is kicking in.
For everybody watching, we will post information on how to get in touch with all of us at the end of the show. So please stick around. There will be a post with all of our Instagram links. So please stick around for that. But Berkeley, I'm going to tell the story about how I met Berkeley. Berkeley walked into the shop with her friend Melissa. And I looked at Berkeley and I just loved her energy, fell in love with her. And I was like, hey, there's something about you. And we started chit-chatting. And I think, if I remember correctly, I threw out the idea of like, hey, I want to do this. would you be interested in coming over and being part of this group? But please tell the audience how you came to know that you had a gift, that you had something.
Yeah. So in my early 20s, I was working late nights in a bar, and I wouldn't get home until 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, and would have to wind down a little bit. And I had just actually been really grateful to be able to purchase my own first house. So was super excited, was in my house. Backing up a little bit, I was living with my parents because there was some work that was being done, and I didn't feel comfortable in the new house. I couldn't quite pinpoint why, but I just didn't feel, I don't want to say safe, but just it always felt like there was someone else there. Like I never felt like I was alone. And after about a month and my house was almost ready, the bathroom was getting remodeled, my parents were like, okay, bye. Go live in your house, right? So I get into my house, and I always felt a little uneasy. And one night I came home and I went to bed, and I was laying on my side, and I happened to just roll over, and there was a man standing over me, and his like literally looking down at me. And like any 22-year-old adult, I handled it with the grace of fashion and ran out and called the police. No, that's not what happened. I flipped over, put myself in the fetal position, and threw the covers over my head and said, "You're not there, you're 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 not there." And was pretty much terrified. I don't know how, but at some point I woke up the next morning and no one was there. I went and I checked all doors and windows. Everything was locked. Nothing was unlocked. Nothing was open. Nothing was ajar. I started to question if maybe I was going crazy, if it was a dream, but it felt so real. And this family that was working on the bathroom showed up to finish some work. And I was walking out of the bedroom. There was my bedroom in this long hallway that goes into the living room. And the son, who's about 19, was walking down the hallway. He was walking towards me as I was walking out. And forgive, I'm going to cuss a little bit, but he goes, "Holy shit." And I'm like, "What? What?" He's like, "Nothing, nothing, nothing, nothing." And he's like, "You wouldn't believe me." And I said, "Okay, try me, because I'm going crazy here. Like, what's going on? What'd you see?" And he's like, "Well," he's like, "I just saw this like black shadow run down the hallway, and it went against the living room wall and out the front door." And of course, now I'm like, "What?" So the initial experience that I had was really scary. I didn't quite understand what was happening. I didn't know what I needed to do. I was very fortunate. I had a best friend at the time who was Wiccan, and she gave me a candle burning spell to help surround it with healing, beautiful white light and asking it to leave. And we found out that it wasn't a negative entity. It was more of a curious entity. We're not sure if it was somebody that lived there previously or in the neighborhood. So from that point on, like I never saw him again. But I certainly felt him, and other people when they come in the house would definitely feel him. So I kind of shut it off for a little bit because I was so scared, and found out that my mother also has gift and my grandmother had gift. So it's definitely a generational thing. And then I met you, and it's so funny because Melissa was actually nudging me. She's like, "You need to talk to him. He's an actor. He does podcasts." He's like, "That's your tribe. That's your kind of person." And Melissa was much more well-versed and is very well-versed now, but it was just funny because Daniel invited me, and I'm like, you don't mean me, you mean her." Like, why are you talking to me? And it all unfolded the way that it was meant to. And I learned a ton in that amount of time. And it was a beautiful experience, and I'm continuing to grow. But I do find that there's a lot better growth when you have community and you come together and share each other's gifts. That vibration, that collective vibration raises, and just it's a beautiful experience for sure. So
And for everybody watching, I failed to ask you at the beginning of the conversation, but can you give us your complete resume?
Well, okay. What do I not do? I'm not great at math. Got it. No. So I am an empathic intuitive, so also known as a psychic. Pretty strong in that. I am a medium. So I do see dead people on occasion. and hear them. I've been studying the last year more on the mediumship side because, again, that's kind of an area that I've always been a little fearful of. It's a little overwhelming, but I've been working on that the last year. I've been taking classes through the Journey Within, which is a spiritualist church in New Jersey. And this year, I actually just started a year-long mentorship with Tony Stockwell, who's a global UK world-renowned medium, and he does a lot of really cool stuff. So I'm super excited, super
That's
excited.
awesome.
And I do art. Obviously, you see stuff behind me, and I'm a singer.
Yes,
And there's more, but
we're gonna have to get a piece of your artwork so we can hang it over here.
I would love to do that. I will send you something.
Next, I want to bring this gentleman, and I have because he lives close by. Berkeley moved. Berkeley left us. Let me just put that out there.
I want to come back. I miss you guys. I do.
But my next guest, him and I have stayed really close friends. Again, randomly walked into the shop, and the rest is history. Hi, Wayne. How are you?
Hello. I'm good. I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
Thank you. So for those of you, Wayne and I have stayed really close. And for those of you who have been following my career for the last several years, might remember a little show called Zodiacs and Candles, which Wayne and I did for about, I think we did it for about 6 months, maybe, something like that. So if you're not familiar with that, it was a card reading show where we both did it. We used to do it live, so it was a really great show, which actually was where Cardivo came from, because really the first time I did with you. So Wayne walked into the shop with his then boyfriend, and again, one of those things, I saw him and I was like, I want to talk to you. And it was kind of weird because I kind of talked to your then boyfriend, now we're going to say names, but I talked to him a little bit more. But then we hung out one day for ice cream or something, and I was like, we started talking, I was like, you have gifts. I have gifts. Let's be friends. And but first, give us your resume, and then we'll talk more about it.
Yeah, for sure. So my main medium that I tend to use, and most of the services that I do give is through tarot. So I've been doing tarot for almost 18 years. I got my first tarot deck when I worked at Barnes and Noble. I got it because I was getting a discount, and I said, "Oh, let's try this out," and just went by the book and started offering up readings from the book. I told people I'm not going to do any of my interpretation. I just want to discover the cards and see if there's anything to this. And very quickly, of course, everyone's saying yes. And very, very accurate readings from people being confirmed, just reading it from the book. So from that point, I really wanted to study. So it's been an 18-year process that has grown very much so. So tarot is, it's basically my signpost. When I want to use my intuition, even if I'm feeling bogged down by other energies or things that's going on in my life, tarot is like the clear choice for me. It gives me the perfect signpost to really access my intuition and let my ego step aside. So it's what I'm probably most passionate about. And coming in second would be astrology. Specifically, I really feel like I love to do astrology chart readings. I see it as really being like the manual you should have been born with and given at birth, both for you and for your family, because it really helps you understand yourself if you can use it in that way. And then, of course, it's also progressed into applying astrology to the given moment, which is like zodiacs and candles, being able to say, what's going on in the stars today, what is where, and being able to figure out kind of why there's certain energies at play. So I love doing astrology chart interpretations. I also love doing oracle cards, which I feel like is like tarot light, but just as effective. Only because for me, the way that I utilize it, I tend to utilize just the book. So I'll set the intention, pull the card for the person or for myself, and I'm still to this day. There's times where I'm just jaw dropped at how spot on an oracle deck can be. And I mean, I have over 25 decks now. It's ridiculous.
I think we all have a problem with that.
Right. And then I'm a Reiki Tech energy practitioner. So similar to Reiki, Reiki Tech is a modality that utilizes channeling cosmic energy as well as earth energy for basic clearing of space, clearing of people's energies, clearing of their energetic body, as well as setting intentions to help clear balance chakras. And I've been a Reiki Tech practitioner now for, I'd say, probably 10 or 11 years. So I utilize that energy both in person as well as long distance. So I can do an energy clearing no matter where someone is. And then also, I love to interpret dreams. I have been one that it's very interesting to just, I've always been fascinated by dreams. I've always been a vivid dreamer myself, a lucid dreamer, especially growing up. I could dream and I knew that I was dreaming and I would be able to control my dreams. So that was something that I thought everyone was able to do, and come to find out, not necessarily as common as you would think. I think the study that I read recently said like 1 in 10 people are typically lucid dreamers. So there's something about dreams that really gets you to like the subconscious of yourself and really helping you to understand driving motivations. And it's interesting because you could give me an off the wall dream that someone's had and they probably couldn't make sense of it up or down other than saying like, I must have drank a bunch last night. But for some reason, when I hear dreams, there's some way that my intuition just kicks right in and I'm able to say, hey, like this is what I see. This is what's coming through. And lastly, I'm getting more into guided meditations, well, I've been utilizing them for quite some time, but actually creating my own. So for my clients, I've had a couple of guided meditations come through that have been very helpful for myself and for those clients. So that's something that I'm adding to my spiritual arsenal is some guided meditations. So I hope to have one created, recorded, and available I would say this year, sometime in the next few months. So
Cool.
that's my list.
Awesome. So as one of the cool things that and the four of us, because he'll be on in a second, but is I know that I was an eager learner before Light Nights. Like before we even met, I was always wanting to learn more, which is why I ended up working at the shop. But having been part of Light Nights, having created that and been part of it and making is that it really instilled in me that this is ever growing. Like we don't stop. Like I've been in this now for 10 years professionally, and almost every year I'm taking a workshop, I'm doing a class, I'm learning from somebody new. I pick up a new. I'm also like, I'm a card hoarder too, so I'll do that. I have about 40 decks in my house. I have a whole suitcase that I take with me. Christian is waving in the green room, so I'm going to go ahead and bring him in. For those of you that do not know Christian, I'm surprised you don't. But not only is he my life partner, but he's my business partner. And we happen to have met just around the time we met when I was working at the shop. And he was actually my sounding board when I was trying to put Light Nights together. So without further ado, let me bring my babe on. Hey, hon.
Hi, Berkeley. Hi, Wayne.
Hi.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi.
I still want to say this is but it's not. No, it's so wonderful to hear. It's so great to hear Berkeley. So it's great to see Berkeley. Great to see Wayne. Wayne lives in the same part of the state as me, and I don't see him. So, I'm like, it's because I don't live in Orange County either. So, but it's like so beautiful to see the two. And Berkeley came to visit not so long ago, and I still have not forgotten that night. And we did karaoke, which was so much fun. Like I forgot how much I enjoy it, and I made her sing the usual duet with me. That is almost like a tradition now if she comes out. And she sang some songs she ain't never sung before, and they were good.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention that both Berkeley and Wayne are amazing singers.
Okay, let's be real. Both of them are amazing singers. Wayne makes me sick. I gag when he sings, okay? And I gag when Berkeley sings too. But they are both like, you think they're ready for like our shut down Broadway. They are like ready for Broadway because they sing. It is so miraculous. It's so incredible. So excuse my eyes. I always have problems focusing on the camera here. It's so ridiculous to me because I'm so narcissistic. I have to look at myself the whole time.
Let me tell folks a little bit. So for those of you that have never heard the story, I'm sure we've shared it in several shows. Christian and I met online, and
OkCupid.
OkCupid. Thank you, OkCupid. Don't knock it, folks. It really does work. It really does work. So we met on OkCupid, and Christian came out to visit me in Laguna Beach because I was working at the shop, and we were supposed to have our first date, but I ended up working. So he came into the shop to meet me, which he ended up getting a reading from Diane, who was a reader there, and an oral photography too, right? Did you got the oral photography that day too? So
Love that.
the way that I knew that there was something special about Christian was we ended up walking from the shop, which is about a mile, quarter of a mile, half a mile maybe, to my house.
It felt like 500.
And we stopped at the grocery store. There's a Whole Foods here in town, and we stopped at the Whole Foods. And Christian was teaching. He was getting his master's, and he was teaching at a school. So I knew he had this connection to kids. So we're in this aisle with the chips, and I wanted a bag of chips. But there was this mom with 3 kids, and they were like, "Mom, mom, mom," and I was like, "Get out of the way! I want chips." Well, Christian comes around the aisle, and there was a moment where, like, the kids and Christian, their energy locked. And now, just like backstory a little bit, I'd always told the universe, when I meet the person that I'm to be with, I want to see stars. I want to see sparkles. I want light it up for me. Well, this energy
But I'll still wait 2 years before I'll admit we're even.
Oh my God, that is okay. Call your therapist, Christian. And all of a sudden, I just saw this ray of stars, just sparkles, fly over me, and it threw me off. Christian noticed it and asked me, "What did you see?" And I was like, "Nothing, nothing." It's like, "What did you see?" I'm like, "Nothing." He's like, "What did you feel?" And I was like, "Oh, like he knows." So that day we had our conversation, and now can you please share with them your resume?
And 9 years later, I was born a small farm boy kidding. I absolutely wasn't. Bougie city, spoiled only child. But when I was a kid, I grew up in this beautiful home in Dublin. I miss it so much now. And when I was a teenager, I got all got teenagery, and I had to have more privacy. So I moved my room from downstairs because I'm an only child, so there was an extra room in the house. And I moved to the upstairs room, which almost was like a garage apartment. It was like there's this. You walked up these long stairwell up to the room, and you had your own door, and it was very private. And ever since I can remember, even when I was a real little one, I remember anytime I went on those stairs, I always felt this pressure, like something was chasing me up the stairs, like something was following me in a very menacing way and trying to catch up with me. And I just knew intuitively, back then I wouldn't have said intuitive, I just knew that I didn't want whatever it was to catch me. So I would always run up those stairs like pretty quick. I never walked up those stairs ever, not even to the point where the house is being, well, maybe close to when we sold the house because the spirit got pretty pissed when we were doing that. But ever since I was very young, I've always had just this feeling, which would have been my intuition, an intuitive feeling for other things that you can't necessarily see being around you. Like I remember there was these horrible clown pictures my parents had. They were horrible. And I always felt like there was something attached to those clown pictures. Like, and I can describe it now like that because in hindsight, I understand what I was feeling more. But so that was the very earliest, probably around 9 or 10 when I started having these feelings and started knowing something more was around me. Before that, I don't really have a lot of memory of anything because I was a little kid, and those aren't necessarily memories we get to keep. But I don't remember how I never had like a made up, not made up. That makes it sound like you're crazy. I never had an imaginary friend or anything like that. Even though a lot of only children do that simply because we're only children. But no,
Can you tell them everything that you do, Christian?
Sure, Daniel. Let me tell you what I do. I'm an empathic medium, and that's what I was getting to. I'm an empathic medium, and that basically means I don't hear the spirits, like they don't talk to me. They talk to Daniel. I always tell people they talk to him, but they don't talk to me. I feel like I have to interpret. I get these feelings, really powerful, really strong feelings, and the feelings usually translate. I've gotten pretty good now at translating them into text, like what people need to hear or what the spirit's trying to say. And when I've worked with clients, even online, which I didn't know was going to work, it was kind of cool. When I've worked with people online, I'm always amazed at what comes up still. Like, because it's not about, I don't have to be in their presence for it. And it's not about their energy. It's actually about the spirit energy being with me wherever I'm at. And I just have to interpret what they're sending me. So that's what I do. But sometimes it's pretty painful. Like, I've had where they've had stomach cancer and my stomach is like turning inside out. I've had where they've had back injuries, neck injuries, and I literally all my muscles, everything starts getting really crazy, painful, intense. And that is a mark of an empathic medium, and that's why it can be a little dangerous if you're going into unknown territory. And that's why you need to know how to protect yourself. You need to learn these things as you go, or have someone teach you how to take care of yourself, because you really can get physically hurt. I remember I was channeling our friend Madeline's grandmother, and she had rheumatoid arthritis. And I didn't even know I was doing this, but because this was much earlier in my time working with this gift, my hands were locking up and in like weird positions, like I would never put my hands in. And she saw my hands and she goes, that's exactly what her hands look like at the end, like almost exactly what they look like. They're all locked up and crunched up. And she just, of course, that was her moment when the breakthrough, and she's like, oh my God, he's channeling her. She's here. And so I do that type of work with people. I connect with them. Sometimes I connect with more than one. There's no limit. It could be more than one spirit trying to get a hold of them. A friend of ours on the East Coast, I was doing it online, and we connected with her father and his brother, who were like crazy close. And they both had died within probably a couple of years. And I connected with them, and I was telling her things like, she told me nothing. Because I always tell people, I don't want to know anything. Don't tell me anything. I will tell you. And you can validate it after I say it. But I described both of their deaths, how they died. I described the time frames they died in. And it was just really amazing because she so wanted to, I didn't know this, but she wanted to hear from them. And she really missed them. And apparently they were like tag team dads to her. Like this brother duo were just inseparable. And so that's the type of work I do. I always had, like I said, I've always had that connection, but I didn't really work it until I met Daniel. And we started Light Nights, and that's when it really took off for me. And being around that many people with intuitive gifts, it charged me up, like in a way I never would have thought. And you actually don't let go of that charge; it kind of hangs with you, and you just learn, like it's like exercising, which I don't do, but it's like exercising another muscle. And the more you work your gift and you listen to your intuition, the stronger it gets. And I've been blessed to meet other mediums along the way who've taught me how to protect my home, how to protect myself. Because Daniel and I both, because we work with spirits, our houses are grand central stations for spiritual activity. You know, stuff moves in the kitchen. I'll wake up and something will be turned on that wasn't on. TVs turn on and off during the night. It's quite entertaining. It's nothing scary though.
That just gave me a great segue, because I want to invite everybody who's watching. If any of you have ideas or think you might be intuitive or have a gift, please don't hesitate to ask a question. We're here to answer anything we can. As you can see, we each work, we overlap with each other, but we each have our own distinctive gifts. So please ask any questions you want. But I'm going to start, Berkeley, I want to start with you. How do you get into this thing? Because a lot of people, like when I first started, I was like, oh, let me just pick up a card. Let me just read for you. And the energy would be all over the place. But how do you get centered, grounded into starting to do a reading or a session?
Yeah. So for me, what I found, it's interesting. When I was first starting, there were specific things. And as I've grown, I've added more things. And now I'm kind of being told by others and spirit that I don't have to do all those things, which is very interesting. I think it definitely ebb and flows. But initially and now, even though I'm trying not to do it anymore, I kind of have intention setting. I do a chakra clearing meditation where I bring in all of my guides. And then I also have been doing blending with the power, or sitting in the power. And then I sit down and blend my energy with my client with the permission, of course, always first. And then I connect. And like you too, Daniel, like I know when we were playing Light Nights, I said playing. I thought it was fun. It was playtime for me. but it is serious work, right? But it's fun at the same time for self-discovery. And then also connecting with other like-minded people and not being fearful, right? Of judgment, so to speak. You know, I was like you, I would just be like, okay, I'm just going to pull a card, right? Like here. And usually I do pretty well with that. So I feel like intuitively and psychic, I'm really strong at. Mediumship is just something that I, again, have had in the past a fear towards. And so pushing past that and allowing just it to be and knowing that I'm in control, right? Like it is my space and I can set boundaries. That's one thing I will tell everybody. Boundaries are huge as an empath and huge as a medium, both for sure. So that's how I get into it, is a chakra clearing meditation, checking in with my guides, asking them to step closer into my energy, sitting in the power and then sitting. But again, it cracks me up because I'm being told, if you sit quietly for a little bit and then connect. So it's kind of, like I said, it's as you grow, right? Like you kind of learn what works best for you. So that's kind of my process. But Nancy just commented she wanted to know how she can interpret her dreams.
Yeah, I'm going to bring up a question because I know Wayne talks about dreams, so I was going to go to him. But I want to make sure, like, we each have crystals and stones that we carry with us or that we hold on to. So that's important. And I think one of the things you just said about boundaries, it's okay to say no, folks. It's okay.
Yes,
to say
it is. And that's a full statement. That is a full sentence. There doesn't have to be anything. No, because no, no, just no.
There are some people that we are just not meant to read for. And it's okay to say, I can't connect with you. I know that I break into sweats, really heavy sweats when I can't connect with somebody and I just have to walk away and go. And it's not a test. Don't let people test you. Do not let people test you.
And that's where sometimes people will they will not open themselves up. Like they purposefully won't do it because they're skeptics and they won't open themselves up and they just want to prove you wrong. And when they don't open themselves up, you can't connect to their energy. So you can't connect to whoever wants to communicate with them as a medium. But even with card readings, you can't connect to their guardians because they're blocking it. It's like building a wall. And that's when you just have to say, you know what? Because we do have someone, I could honestly say I've only had one time when I haven't connected correctly or haven't been able to connect for someone. And I know this individual was purposely not opening themselves up. And so I didn't look at it as like, oh, I'm not talented, I'm not good. Because that's very easy for people doing this work to say, oh my God, I must be really crappy at this, or I must not be very good because it didn't work with this person. But it's a two-way street.
Yeah.
And if it's only going one way, you're not going to connect. So.
Yeah. And some days we have off days too. I mean, I don't know how you have, Christian, but like from the mediumship standpoint for me, like some days like information is coming through clear as day. And there are other days where I feel like I can't land one evidential point at all. And then I'll leave.
You I can't hear you.
Right? Like I have a bad connection. Like what's going on? But it happens to everybody. So just know, just like being human, right? It's a process. Like, to let everything just unfold and let it just be what it is. And if you're having an off day, you're having an off day. And that's okay.
Before we move on to the next question, because I was going to send this to
Daniel, I can't see any of the questions or comments.
Before we move on, thank you for you can't what?
I can't see any of the questions or comments. All I see is join the conversation, ask a question.
Well, I haven't posted the question yet.
No.
Yeah. So before we move on, I want to tell people that
I have a message for you.
Also, physical. If you're not feeling physically well, because I used to, like when I was going through cancer, there were days when I would be like so connected, and then there were days when I was just like, I'm not getting anything at all. And I really thought, I'm like, am I losing my power? But if you are going, even if you just have a slight headache or a cold, just know that it's okay that you're not feeling anything.
When my stomach condition was active, before we figured out what was going on, it was really hard to connect because I was in constant pain and discomfort. So I could hardly sit still, let alone connect and have that peace of mind to channel into someone else's energy. So it's very true. But sometimes I'll tell you, during Daniel's cancer, sometimes in the hospital when he was at his worst, he was so open and connected. It was scary. And of course, hospitals are not an empty space. They are full.
Give me good drugs and I'll read you for hours. Wayne, you were talking about dreams, right? So I want to bring this to you, because the question is, how can I interpret my dreams? I know it's a huge, big question, but how can you break that down?
So the best way to go about it and to have better understanding of really what's going on in your dreams, two things I recommend. First would be, and I feel like anywhere you look up online will tell you this, to start a dream journal. And I know for some people it's a challenge because they say they don't necessarily remember their dreams. They don't, so how can I write down about something that I don't remember? So what I'd encourage you to do, if that's the case for you specifically, is when you wake up, to not move, because our dreams are actually tied to muscle memory as well. So, when you have a dream, if you wake up and stay in the same position and start to recall the dream, it's a lot easier to recall. Whereas if you start to move, once your muscle memory, once your muscles have moved, the process for you forgetting the dreams comes much, much quicker. So take a moment to really think about, what do I remember from last night? And mostly I would say take like an emotional check. How am I feeling? Am I upset? Am I happy? Am I feeling tortured? Am I feeling like I just came out of a nightmare? And just starting with that process and doing it on a daily basis where you wake up, take that moment to just sit with how you're sitting, and then write it down in your journal. And then before you go to bed, last thing before you go to bed, go back and read that journal entry from the morning. And that actually encourages your subconscious to, this is something I'm focused on. This is something I want to remember. And people typically over time, within 2 to 3 weeks, will start to have the dreams come forward. So if I definitely recommend doing that. And then secondly, you don't necessarily have to buy a dream interpretation book, but I would say as you start to have those dreams come through after you've written it down, looking at those key points and just going through a dream journal. That's basically how I started, was, tying different things together. And it was definitely for me coming from much more of a like Freud dream interpretation, and it just started to progress where now, because I've been reading through that book so many times because of all the dreams I've had, it kind of creates that spiritual signpost for me where if I have a dream about a snake or one of those things, I used to have fear of snake, but now I know that it's actually like regeneration and rebirth that's coming through. So just those two things alone, I think, can help you have some insight into your dreams. I know some people say, well, what if I dream about flying unicorn on fire with a frog sitting on it? Like, what does that mean? To me, there's always a meaning, especially if it's resonating enough for you to remember it. And then really for you, it's once you're going through looking at that dream interpretation, typically, like as you start to read, this is what this typically represents, or this is the part of your life that's being affected. That kind of comes forward. And I think it helps you understand. I know for me, I've been able to use dream work and specifically lucid dreaming to overcome emotional trauma in relationships. I had a very bad breakup, so to speak, and I was crying daily for about 6 months. And I finally had a lucid dream. In the middle of the dream, I said, "Oh, I'm dreaming. Help me deal with this situation." And the dream changed, progressed, and basically, I woke up that next day not upset anymore. I woke up no longer crying. I felt at peace. So I think that our dreams are signposts for us, but I think it's also an opportunity that if someone's interested in lucid dreaming as well, everyone, I believe, has the ability to do that as well. You just have to kind of follow the prompts and go through whatever key points work for you to get you to lucid dream. But I think that also is a great key to help you understand what's going on beneath the surface, or if you're having issues that you feel like I'm in this behavior that I'm doing over and over again and I'm not able to get myself out of that cycle. Tapping into your dreams is going to be the best way to start addressing that, because that's getting into your subconscious and the unconscious beliefs that you have that's driving your behavior on a daily basis.
I think one thing I want to, because I love everything you said, and add to that a lot of people have this misconception that a nightmare necessarily means something horrible is about to happen, and they don't want to write it down because they feel like they might be calling in the negative energy. What do you have to say about that?
I think that it's all about intention. And I think if you're an intuitive person, I know that there are people whose intuition tends to be strong with premonitions that come through dreams. So in some cases, dreams that come through maybe foretelling of the future or things that are occurring in this moment. But I think I haven't necessarily experienced premonition dreams myself. And I think that really it's just about what intention are you setting. And if you're setting the intention of doing this dream journal to better understand yourself, that is what is going to play out for you. Whereas if you are writing down in the dream journal, I have this nightmare dream and it's going to happen to me, then I think that that's when you're calling in that energy that could potentially cause some form of issue for you. But for me, it's all about intention. So if you, and really, I think if you're going to do, taking a step back, if you're going to do a dream journal, that first page, write to yourself the intention of why you're doing this. Why are you writing down your dreams? What is it that you're wanting to accomplish? And if you set that intention, anytime you write in that book, that intention will be present. So if you are having nightmares about whatever, I don't want to bring up anything negative, but super negative things, if you are, you know that writing it in that journal is not saying the universe, I acknowledge this so it can come true. I'm acknowledging it so that I can process what this actually means to me, heal whatever wound or trauma that my subconscious is bringing forward, so that I can move forward and make more conscious decisions in my daily waking life.
Have any of you had dreams about other people? Like, have you gotten messages where you're sleeping? I know I have, but have you all? And you're like, you wake up and you're like, I need to call so and so right now. And
Yeah, I haven't had that per se. I've had some really strong dreams where I've healed past life trauma from my grandmother, which was pretty intense, but also beautiful at the same time. So yeah, I think, and also mentioning for Nancy, let's say I have dreams that I think it's like a warning. I think sometimes for sure dreams can be warnings. Your intuition's definitely kicking in and trying to get your attention. I do think that there are times too where I look, for me personally, like I love dream interpretation. I use books. I'm not as deep in as Wayne is. But I like to look at the symbology of things. Like I used to have, it's so funny. I used to have a dream all the time about losing my teeth. And I found out that it's fear of change. And at that time, like I had a lot of fear towards change. And so it was very valid. So it was pretty interesting.
yeah, I always talk about the death dreams and death cards, and
Change.
yes, thank you. And how sometimes it's just the interpretation of changes coming and the ending of things. And
Right.
so I always, when people talk to me about death dreams, oh, I dreamt that this died, or that, I'm like, what is it? Let's look further down the death. And I think that's one thing that we can agree on, the four of us. Always look beyond the obvious. There's always something more.
Check the obvious, but then go beyond. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, I see Nancy's comment. One of the things too, when it comes to like death dreams, dreaming about the death of, I've had probably 4 dreams in the last 5 years where I didn't know I was dreaming. It felt real, and I was dying in the dream, and I was thinking to myself like, oh my God, this is how I die, and then waking up. But for me, when I look at dream interpretation for other people, if I had a dream tonight and I was dreaming about Daniel, it's not Daniel in the dream. Typically, I think there are abilities for us to be able to connect in each other's dreams as well. But the normal average dream, I'm dreaming about Daniel because he represents something to my subconscious. So if Daniel represents something to me that I may be challenged by or going through in my daily life and I'm having issues, and say I had a dream that he died, what this is to me in an interpretation would be that what Daniel represents to me, so boiling it down, what happened in the dream? What was Daniel doing? Was I in Daniel's home? Each of those things. It's more about a part of you. Every person you interact with in your dream isn't that person, obviously. I feel like it needs to be said. But what it is it's a representation of a part of you that you're seeing in your dream that's playing out for you. So if you're having dreams about other people dying, there's fear around loss of either that type of relationship or what that person brings to you in your life. So if there's one person that died that maybe helped provide for your well-being, provide money so you can pay your rent, if that person dies in the dream, that's probably a fear around being able to provide for yourself. And I will say for me in my dream interpretations, in any type of intuitive reading that I do, I know because of my upbringing, because of I was raised in the Mormon church, I know that it all comes around to healing those blockages in ourselves so that we can really acknowledge those wounds. So doing tarot, for me, I use it as a mirror for that person so we can say, here's everything that I see that's going on in your life. Here's your biggest blockages. Here's the wounds that are coming up for you. So let's address those wounds. So that way you're making decisions consciously going forward and not operating on old wounds because we're not quite sure how to sit with them, address them, and really hear and see them. So going back to the death dream, it's really about what that person means to you potentially, and it's not so much about that person actually passing.
Now, I want to, before Christian comments, she was saying that she dreamt, I thought you were going to say something. Nancy says she dreamt about these people and they actually died. So let me, I would write that down and keep that on your records, because you might be having more dreams.
Premonitions.
Yeah, well, most of us
Yeah.
do them when we're awake. You're doing it when you're asleep. And so keep writing those down, because there may be way more, you may be way more powerful than you think you are. And that's,
And especially doing that dream journal, especially for someone that has precognition, that is just another great way for you to validate your gift. And I know it's an awful way to have to validate your gift in certain aspects in that way, but either way, doing that dream journal, I think is really going to help you dive deeper into a better understanding of yourself. And in this case, potentially a gift that you have that maybe you misunderstand or maybe fearing at this time, because that is something scary to not only have that dream, but yeah.
Okay.
You know, it's important to remember, if you're having prophetic dreams or predictive dreams, whatever is going to happen is already preordained by the universe or by God, depending on your interpretation of the world. And you knowing about it or hearing about it or dreaming about it and getting a warning or just for some reason an advance notice is not a negative thing, and it's not about you changing the destiny of any of those individuals. It is just, to me, it's just the universe. This is your gift, and how you work with your gift is completely independent. You know, every medium is different. Even though we could all be, you could have another empathic medium. The way we work with our gift is very different. Like, you know, I see that lady on TV, the Dead Files. And she goes into a house and she sees things like I see. Like I watched her and I know exactly what she's going through. And she is an empath. She's the one who actually taught me what an empathic medium was. I didn't know there were different types. And when I saw her working, I go, that's exactly my experience. I see things, I see them. I just don't have an artist to draw what I see. But I always remind people of that show. I go, remember, she's a medium. We're mediums. We're not shaman. We're not priests. We're not individuals. We can't necessarily exercise, and we certainly can't make an entity leave a home if it doesn't want to. All we could do is and if you watch her show, you realize she's not solving the people's problem. She's telling them what's going on or confirming what they already know. And then telling them, you need to get out. You need to sell your house. You know, she's not solving it. And a lot of people misinterpret that mediums, oh, you can make a spirit leave. I'm like, no. I could tell spirit, I can invite the spirit if you're ready to ascend or leave, then certainly open the door and go. But we can't it's just like I can't make Daniel do anything. I can't make Daniel feel a certain way. I can't make him do things because I don't have that control. And spirits are the same way. I remind people, spirits are people. Like but now they're not limited by the flesh. They're not, because of their ascension, they are all knowing and they are all seeing, and time means nothing to them. So yeah, you know, go with your gift and understand that you weren't necessarily put here to solve it or warn people or anything like that. Sometimes it's just, that's your gift and it's just doing its job.
Cool. I want to bring up the comment from, I was holding on to the Micah's comment because it's pretty long, so we can read that. Gifts of life. In 1988, I was under major surgery. During my medical procedure, my heart stopped. Doctors worked for 8 minutes to remind me I had beautiful experience of the other side. One of my gifts has been working hospice, palliative care. When people are in coma, I hear them talking to me. That is,
wow.
That just blew me away. So I want to make sure that we talked about the dreams before we got into this one. But that is just amazing. I mean, I'm gonna start with this one because I know that having gone through the health things that I went through, especially through cancer, dying, I only remember one time. But Christian keeps saying that I died 3 times, and
that's just as a reminder, not most people don't remember when they die. Like that is a gift of the universe. You don't remember, oh, I died. That's why a lot of spirits are not aware that they died. Like it takes a moment. So yeah, Daniel doesn't remember all 3 times because you're not supposed
I remember the one time, but I do remember going, long story short for everybody. And by the way, we're going to run into the hour. Are you guys comfortable with another 30 minutes? Because I feel like we're just tapping into the conversation. But for those of you that remember me going through cancer, that knew me then, there was a situation. I had to go to the emergency room. I lost a lot of blood. I saw a light. I was going into the light so much that one of the EMT guys recognized that I was ready to go. And in the emergency room, I remember starting to leave and coming back. And it's funny because I was in the hospital for 8 days, and the nurses would come in because when they would give me my my pain pills, my medication, I would go into this mode that I would read the nurses. They would come in to change because I had a diaper. They would change my diaper or feed me, and they would give me my pain pills, and I'd be like, "Let me tell you something before you leave." So it's very valid. I tell people, they're like, "Well, you know, I got sick, and I think that I saw things." I'm like, I can't dismiss it as, well, you had a fever, because it's very valid that when your inhibitions are so low, that spirit and angels just appear and be like, "Hey, we're here for you." Does that make sense to you guys?
You know, a lot of time, Daniel's sister says to him, quite free, you know, she said to him more than once, you know, obviously God is not done with you, you know, because Daniel, you know, he died 3 times during cancer time. And that time he just described was the first time. And it's interesting. And then I hear him talk about his past experiences. And it's so interesting to string it together and see that there is, I don't believe in accident or coincidence. I don't believe that I happened upon Daniel when I did. You know, it was deemed long ago that Daniel and I were going to meet. And it's just, you know, sometimes our brains get in the way and take 2 years. And sometimes they don't. It's a matter of being open. But I always remind people, be open to whatever's being coming your way, because it's not random. There are no accidents. Even when you get in a car accident, we call it a car accident, but it's not an accident. You were meant to be in that situation for some reason, either, you know, whatever it may be. And that has really helped me with interpreting messages I get and feelings I get and intuitive hits that I get. It's helped me to relax and just say, you know, there isn't any, it's not negative or positive. It's what you bring to it. It's what you bring. Like, I see shows and they drive me nuts when someone says, "There's an evil spirit in your house." No, there's just a spirit. You know, what you bring to it may be evil. Maybe you're the evil one. But it's not the spirits. Most of the time, spirits are pretty neutral. And, you know, unless you've upset them in some way. Like if you tried to get rid of a spirit thinking you had that power. Girl, that's like looking at any human being saying, "I'm going to make you," and it doesn't work out well. It doesn't work out in this form. It's certainly not going to work out in the energetic form.
You just gave me a really good segue to another part. Is I know one of the first things that I had issues with was trusting my gut, trusting my instinct, and believing that the message was not me making it up, but that was a message. Oh, I just got chills. A message coming in, because I remember the version. I was like, I think this is what they're saying. You know, this is what, how did y'all, or have you transitioned completely into saying, okay, this is my intuition speaking. This is spirit. This is the angels, whomever you connect to. I know that there are times still when I'm like, when the message is so strong, and I'm like, is that really me, or is that really spirit? How do y'all go into that solar plex and trust your gut?
Like, how do we take ourselves out of that equation?
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like for me, it's interesting. I find that sometimes, like, I don't realize I'm doing it. I found out now that I'm trancing, like information will be coming through, and I'll realize that I've actually, like, I'm physically there, but I'm stepped out and my mouth is moving and information is coming through. And it seems like I'm counseling someone, right? And then I'll start actually paying attention to what I'm saying and going, this is not me. And this is really good information. Like, this is really good advice. Like, I should be listening to this, like, because it's equally important to me as it is for my sitter. And I think, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, like, it's an energetic exchange when you sit down with someone and have a discussion or do a reading for them. And invariably, like, I firmly believe 2 things. when someone comes to the sitting, you're both supposed to get healing from it, one. And two, when I've done lives in the past with just being open for reading sessions, and I know Wayne and I have done them together, there is almost always an overarching theme that comes through with the people that end up coming up on the live. And so I always tell people, if you ever end up on a live stream with somebody in a group reading, don't just wait to have your answer answered, because most likely all of us are here for a reason to have this message come through intuitively. Like, again, that divine timing, right? Like all of these things intersecting at these particular moments are for a reason, for sure. So that's my personal experience with it.
Before y'all answer, I want to read Judith's comment. I now trust the message and begun sharing the important stuff with others who I think might be able to handle it. Yeah, that is true. And then this comment, they want to continue having this conversation to raise us to higher awareness, authentic love. It gets better. Yes, yeah, definitely. Did Christian, Wayne, did y'all have something to add to that?
Yeah. So for me, that was something that I think I definitely have struggled with in the past, and it wasn't until the last couple of years that I think I've gotten over that fear just by doing and just by continuing to doing readings. And I mean, I've done over 1,000 readings now at least, and of those, I haven't really gotten any negative feedback or anyone calling me. You know, I've maybe had one or two, kind of to Christian's point, that really weren't there to hear the message. They were there to test me, and I still delivered the message. And for me, I think I see it a little bit differently in that I still see it as planting seeds. So if they're them not being willing to hear what is present, I'm tapping into their energy. I'm tapping into their higher self as well. So I think that energy is still present and the messages are still coming through. It's just that wall is up. But I've learned that it's really about planting seeds, because when I became a tarot reader and said, this is what I want to do, I think I wanted to be able to lay those cards out and by the end of the reading be like, your problem solved. Look how wonderful and fabulous I am. Let's do it. It's so good, you know? And that was something that was a hindrance to me, because I was putting this pressure that I need to heal this person in one session and making this happen, when for me, I've learned now it's about planting seeds. So even if I have someone who's receptive, I know that me doing this reading for them, they may still not be able to actually process this for another month or two. So for me, it's let me off the hook by saying I'm planting seeds for this person. Whatever comes through, let those seeds be planted, and whatever needs to grow will grow for them, and it'll ruminate. And I've had return clients now who tell me, you know, you're so gracious in how you provide that message, and it's not like forceful, but it's just that's the purpose. So for me, stepping back, answering the actual question, now I know that it's just all about setting the right intention. Energy follows intention, whatever intention we put into it. And then really, to me, like the belief that we have is the power button and the power wheel of how much we're able to connect with that energy. So if we believe we're intuitive, if we believe that intention that we set will be the intention that happens, then that's like when the dial's all the way up to 100. So for me, now, whenever I start a process with someone, whether it's an astro chart reading, whether it's a tarot reading, for me, it's about clearing my space first. I do a golden tornado around myself, around the client, around whatever space I'm in, whatever space they're in. It's very easy for me now because I can just, boom, it's done. And then I have a simple prayer that I say that I basically, as I'm shuffling the cards, may you be blessed more than ever before for the benefit of all, and so it is. So as long as I've done those two things, I know that whatever comes through, whatever comes up, was meant to come through. So even if I'm having a client who may be butting up against that, for me, I don't fear, and I still have those moments where Daniel talks about like getting sweaty and being like, oh, what, but I know I can go back and say, you can reground knowing that I set the right intention at the start. And I think that's why I'm confident that the feedback I've been given through all of the readings that I've done has been so positive, because there is things that have been validated for them, and it's more about validating it for them, planting that seed, and then letting them run and grow with it.
Did you want to add something, Christian?
Yes, since I've done probably 2,000, I feel like if I did a 10th of what Wayne and Daniel and Berkeley combined have done, I agree. Wayne is totally right. It's about planting the seeds. With skeptics, it's planting a seed and letting it grow. Because Daniel, I'll say with Daniel, when I've watched Daniel work with skeptics and he plants that seed, it's amazing how even my friend David up in Northern California, Daniel did a reading for him years ago. And Dave is a real skeptic. He was really like, and everything Daniel said has come to pass. But it didn't take a year. It's been over multiple years. But everything Daniel told him would happen has happened almost exactly as Daniel said it would happen. And now David is much more, it grew in him. That seed Daniel planted grew, because now David will say it all came true, everything he said. I don't want to say it, I didn't want to admit it, but everything Daniel said was right on the nose.
My go-to for people is, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead.
And on my, thank you, Daniel. And for me, when I work with clients, it's the same thing. I just remind myself, it's not about Christian. That's that's always been, because I'm an addict, I'm in recovery. That's one of my greatest things. I'm a total narcissist. I want to make it about me, but it's not. And that's what connects me. That's when the connection, when stuff, like Berkeley said, when stuff comes out of my mouth, I'm like, I don't even know where this is coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know, like, there's no way on God's green earth I would say this phrase to anyone, because it's not me. And that's it, and I realize, and I just got the chills. I always get the chills when I'm on track. My main guardian, my paternal grandfather, he's always been, he gives me the chills when I'm on track. And during a session, I'll get the chills continuously when I make sure that whatever's coming in my head, I say, I no longer fear being wrong or being off. I just say what comes through, and that's that. Yeah. And how it's taken is not up to me. That is up to their higher power and the universe.
I get the ear itch. That's how I know the ear itch. And like we're talking about skeptics, my go-to is put it in your mental file cabinet, call me in 6 months. And usually before then, they'll be calling back. It's like, hey, do you remember? But I don't, like Berkeley was saying, like I have to go back and watch videos sometimes of recordings that I have, because I'll forget what I say.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's not for me.
Kind of channeling.
But then,
it's not
like Berkeley, like this outer body experience where I'm watching me and I'm like, hey, is that message for me? That sounds really just for me. Hold on.
How rude.
What's for me?
Why can't you help me? Where's mine?
Let me, I was holding on to this comment from Leo Garcia. Interesting topic. I've really talked about it, an out-of-body experience I had after a fall in a restaurant. There was no light, but I elevated as high as I could with transcending. Yeah, so that, I think we've all kind of been in that position. For everybody watching, thank you so much. We're going to extend this for another 30 minutes. So if you have any questions or comments, please send them in now. I'm strategically put them into the conversation, but I will get to your comments and answers. At the end, I will be posting our Instagram links so you can connect with all of us. Also, we will be talking about light nights. There is a special message about light nights, so we'll be talking about that too. So if you missed the beginning of the show, please go back and watch the beginning. Hello, hi, cuz.
I will say something. I was glad I was with Daniel at the time when he was coming up with Light Nights. I'm grateful to have been from day one, been a part of Light Nights. And I could tell you my gift grew exponentially during the time. And seeing Berkeley's gift develop, seeing Wayne's already developing gifts become even stronger, seeing She Who Will Not Be Named doing artistic drawings and stuff as her form of ability was amazing. Seeing Tamara, who came very late to the group. Was it Tamara, the dog walker at the time? Amber. Seeing Amber come to the group, who came very late, and she still developed amazing. Her gift developed so quickly. I cannot say I've ever since had such a wonderful, warm feeling when we were all together in that living room and we all focused our energy in that room and in that moment. And that was like the first time I saw full body apparitions of who was in the room with us, who was attracted to that energy. And my God, I love you guys. Like, I love Wayne. I love Berkeley. I love Amber. I love everyone who's in that group, barring one. And, but that is, I'm human. I'm not an angel yet. I'm not like Daniel. That is forgiving. But I find it amazing that what a blessing to have that connection. And thank you, Daniel, for
Yes,
that
thank you.
idea.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you,
Definitely
Diana
bringing us
Wynn,
together.
for encouraging Daniel to go down that path and telling him to stay with me. Thank you.
I will say to that point as well, it was very validating for me. I know I kind of spoke to it, and people who know my journey, like I said, growing up in the Mormon church, I grew up in the Mormon church. I was closeted gay, afraid that my family would find out that I was going to hell. And I truly believed it, because that's what I was raised being told, that the Mormon religion was the truth, the only truth. You turn away from the truth, you're going to hell. And I was already going to hell because I was gay. But basically, I left the Mormon church at 18, and I started studying Eastern religion. And I took some classes with my friend Diana, who been on the show previously with Daniel. Absolutely love her. But her and I, probably about 10, 11 years, 12 years ago now, we're taking classes from one of my best friends, Iris. And she had, I think we took probably 12 of her courses, from earthbound spirits to energy work. That's how I became a Reiki practitioner, was through Iris. So taking those classes, I think, helped give me the groundwork. It was kind of like my elementary, middle school, high school experience. And then Light Nights was like the college experience for me, where I actually got to see it in practice. And it was almost like the intuitive person was out there. It's someone who, I didn't have those type of people in my life, even though I was, wanting it and seeking it out. So for me, Light Nights was such an extremely validating place to be, because there's other people who were open, that it wasn't just this dogmatic view of this is the way that it is, this is the way that it works. And I mean, in Mormonism and most modern Christian-based religion, going to soothsayers, going to psychics, intuitives is looked down upon. There's people where it basically says, like, you could be jeopardizing getting into heaven by seeking these things out. So I've had to detox that as well. But Light Nights really allowed me to understand, it's all people. We're all just a lens looking at the same thing. We see it differently through our own lens. But Light Nights was definitely my playground to be able to really put my full belief in not just my gifts, but the other people around me who wanted to better their world in their own ways and utilizing their gifts as well. So for me, Light Nights was really, I'm getting chills, just such an amazing experience, because it was what I always craved from the Mormon religion, of this feeling of love, this feeling of purpose, this feeling of I have something to share that will help other people. And I wasn't able, I feel like there was some good that comes from religion. But for me personally, it was Light Nights that really allowed me to say, no, I can put my full belief in myself and my gifts, just being with this group of amazing people. And to Christian's point too, when we would get together, it was electric. The energy was intense and so spectacular. You could feel it. So thank you, Daniel, for we all draw each other together in that way, but it was a pivotal point for me that really allowed me to get to where I am today. And there's long-term goals that I have, being who I am, and the gifts that I have that I want to utilize too. So this is just another step along the way, but this is a great way to thank you for it, and to really recognize how far we've come in 10 years. And what does another 10 years look like for each of us, and where we'll be in 10 years from now.
Wow, thank you. No, for I blah 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 blah. For those of you that don't know what I all do, which I talk about all the time, so I started my path as just an intuitive, just being able to deliver messages to people, and then I included oracle cards. Through the years, I've learned pendulums, tarot cards. I've become a Reiki master. I'm a spiritual life coach. In fact, it's so funny that just at the right moment, Grace is my life coach. So she's just hello. And so Light Nights, we want to bring it back. So for all of you out there, this is our 10th year anniversary of Light Nights. And again, it was just me wanting to meet more people that were doing what I was doing at the level that I was doing it, because I knew all these people at the shop who had been readers for years, and they didn't, not that they didn't understand, but maybe they'd forgotten what it was to be a beginner and have all these toys and all these things to tap into. And so I said, well, I'm going to go and find my own little Mickey Mouse Club, my misfits, to connect. And it worked. And first of all, I want to thank y'all, you and everybody else who came to those first meetings, because it was, hold on a second, we got some more messages here. It was y'all following and trusting my craziness. Hi, Monica.
Hey, Monica, hello.
Light nights, and it's light nights.
Light nights.
Light like a light, and we were nights. We were light nights. Not like good night, but like
GTS.
Not like like the nights of the
it's chilling.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Berkeley. Yes, light nights, and I don't know how I came up with the name, and it was just kind of like light. That's what we are. No, not light nights. Like good night.
We got it.
But I wanted to connect. I wanted to know more, and I wanted some kind of validation that what I was going through was real, and it was not something that I wanted to be, but something that I needed to be part of. And you folks made that possible. And again, I'm just grateful that they're like, I keep saying like, y'all are crazy enough to like just listen to me and go,
to just trust.
We're doing this tonight. And, let's do it. But you know what I want to talk about really quick?
9 years of listening to
whatever. We will talk after this. We will.
Something.
The things that I remember a lot is going out to eat afterwards. And there was always a server or somebody that we would all like gang up on and read for.
I feel so bad for all those people we encountered after light nights, because those poor people got read whether they wanted it or not.
So that was fun. So for everybody watching, before we continue in the last like 20 minutes, we want to bring light nights back. We want to do this for a whole new generation of intuitives. I am working on a workshop. This would be a 10-part series, so it would be 10 meetups, virtual, where you can come and join us and explore your gifts, whether you're a beginner, middle, or an expert, and you just want to grow and learn and connect with other people across the country. We want to do this, and your teachers, your facilitators, your trainers will be these guys and me. So we are ready to teach you everything that we know and learn from you. What was it? How awesome. That would be nice. Yes. So we're going to do this. Here is my, so make sure you send an email there, cardebo@littlemexerproductions.com. Put light nights in the subject, and that's how you spell it. Make sure you put it on there, and I will send you some information. But we want to put together a series of 10 workshops where we can show you what we do. I feel like it's more of a showing you than teaching you, because you probably already know what you're doing. We just want to show you what we've been doing for the last 10 years. We lost your question.
Sorry. All four of us here, when you really think about it, it wasn't about discovering so much as finally recognizing and legitimizing in our own minds what our gifts were, our different gifts were, and then working them. Like working out at a gym. It's the same kind. You got to work out your intuitive muscle. And that's what we did. And by energizing it on those nights, it was like getting 2 weeks worth of workouts in one night. And being in it such a trusting, a safe space. Let's just say it was a safe space for whatever you might have thought is the cuckoo bird crazy thing. It was okay there because it was not usually cuckoo bird or crazy. Yep. And sometimes you found someone else in the group who was shared that cuckoo bird crazy, so it wasn't really cuckoo bird or crazy. And you learned, I'm okay. And this is amazing. I'm gifted. I'm amazing. I think it also helped people with self-esteem. I think because
self-confidence,
I got a lot more self-esteem with developing this gift. And because one of the things I had to learn was to, trust in the gift. Like when I'm working with clients, I tell them what comes through, and I no longer question it or wonder, is it me? It's them. It's not me.
For Monica, before we do for Monica's comment, that's what Light Nights did. And I have to admit, like when the first sessions, we had 2 groups. We had 10 and 10 in each group. And out of the 20, 8 people were the ones that we ended up working together.
Became a
But
cool-
Monica, don't put yourself down before you know for sure. You just because you don't have like my gift doesn't mean you don't have your gift. And
That's true.
some of the people that didn't end up staying in the group went on to do some really amazing things on their own, because I still keep track of some of those folks. And so, Monica, please email me and let's find out what your gift is. You just never know.
I want to jump in there too, just to say, Monica, I will tell you, and for other people that are listening, everyone is psychic. I know that sounds crazy, but everyone is psychic. We are all built with our internal gut feelings. It's an instinct. There's more to it. Some people are more open to it and more receptive than others. And so everyone has different gifts. I think we're kind of in a state of being with, I'm going to say the C word, COVID and pandemic, the P word, right? Where people have been forced to lock down and self-reflect and learn a little bit more. And things are starting to light up, I think, for more people and more people. And so I'm really excited about this opportunity to do the light night again, because for me personally, I know Christian said he felt like it wasn't self-discovery. It was a huge self-discovery experience for me. Like, I know we ended up going out to eat one night. And I know it was like, I met you guys through light night. It wasn't an actual official light night, but we talked about cytometry and I had no idea what it was. And basically it's the ability to read energy off of items. And Daniel threw his keys at me and was like, hold my keys. And I'm like, okay. He's like, tell me what you see. And I thought he was crazy for a minute. Cause I'm like, I'm holding keys. What do you want? He's like, tell me what you see. And I'm like, okay. And I did. And I felt silly doing it. And he validated everything that I said. And so just learning something there, right? Like it's all about self-discovery and learning things that you might not even be aware that you have. I mean, I think that's what's brilliant about Light Night is because you have all these different people that come in that have these different experiences. And then you get to practice it together and you realize that you all kind of have this shared experience together and realize that, oh, I can add this to my arsenal. I know how to use cytometry now. I can do that. Who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew?
And I think, Daniel, in that time frame, we had just taken a course on psychometry.
Yeah, you took
And
half a day.
I remember I made quite a connection in that class. And I then, at a friend of ours, Jackson's house, he had handed me a Bible. And he kind of did what Daniel did to you. He handed me the Bible and he said, so tell me about this Bible. And I'm like, it's a Bible.
Right?
It has the first, the last, and New Testament in it. And
that was
he forced me, he didn't force me, but it's the same thing. I got thrown in the deep end and I hadn't used what we learned in that class yet. And when I let whatever came through, I related to him. Jackson was that, it blew him away because I exactly described the last owner of that Bible and the horrible things they did with it.
That was the first thing we did together, Christian and I. We did a psychometry class.
I even impressed the teacher in that class because I saw her boyfriend from the 70s walking outside the window of the classroom, and I was holding something that was his, and I didn't even know it was his.
It was a pretty cool class. And
That's a really cool class.
But yeah, so for everybody out there, we hope, again, I will post the email. It'll be up there for you guys to check out. Please email me for more information. Before we go, Berkeley, what do you do outside of the spiritual world, the energy world?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Okay, like, because I know you're an artist, so you're an artist.
Oh.
You're in a band.
As I said, my
I
mother.
live.
What do you do? What does your other personality look like?
Oh man, I have so many. So I'm a consultant in my day job. My background is actually digital marketing administration and operations. So it's very analytical and very structured. With spirituality, you have to turn that side of your brain off and shift to the other. And so ultimately my goal and my hope is to be able to do that, to do this more as a full-time focus. I am a singer. I have been since I was 10 years old. It's my happy place. I was a very, very shy child. So singing helped me literally find my voice. And so there was a period of time where I had some health stuff where I couldn't sing. And so I ended up painting. And so I do art. Got stuff in the background right now that you guys can see. It's interesting. This stuff is my stuff, and you'll see some of my stuff where I will tell you it's not my stuff, meaning like that dropped in from somewhere in the universe. And I had to create it because I was told to create it. So purples and teals are my happy places, as you can tell. So if it's not that color, it most likely came from something being dropped. So my hope too is I'm wanting to learn a little bit more about, there actually are artist mediums. So what they can do is they can physically see, and I do see internally in my head and feel and sense and hear, to be able to maybe consider doing sketches of what I'm seeing of people on the other side. So it's pretty cool. But I'm trying to think what else in the real world. I mean, I'm a fur baby mom. I've got 4 fur children. I'm married to a wonderful man who's a veteran, who's ridiculously smart, like too smart for his own good sometimes. But yeah.
Don't let him watch this.
I know. So you might be able to hear it. But
we didn't even get into how our connection with animals works too. That'll have to be another episode. We have to come back.
That's a whole thing too, for sure. For sure. Animal communication and psychic readings are a thing. It's funny you're bringing that up because I was told yesterday that I need to be going down that path too. So that's what I'm saying. Like, messages will come through, and if we're on this talk at any point in time, something like resonated with you and you got excited about it and you had some kind of physical sensation or no physical sensation, you're like, ooh, you should definitely learn and Google it and learn more about it. And I'm sure at some point we'll have a light night on it. And if not, when you email, like even say, I want a light night about this. So we can offer that for you.
That's how the original worked. Every night someone had something they wanted to say.
Yes.
Wayne, what are you up to now, Wayne?
So also currently, I, in the last couple of years, have definitely dived deep into photography. I've been loving it both as a stress reliever. I love doing, if you go through my Instagram, both my photography one and my main one, you'll see tons of ocean shots since I live close to the ocean. But I also have been doing more small business photography. So helping small businesses for pictures for the owners, for pictures for their operations to use for marketing for their websites. And I really am passionate about that. I think it's great to be able to help support small businesses in that way. And I feel like I've grown through that. So I'm definitely loving doing photography as well. And beyond that, my regular part-time, full-time job, I'm office manager for a private wealth advisory practice, for a financial advisor, basically. So I definitely, it's also interesting kind of with Berkeley, I have very strong business experience, management experience. I was a manager at Disney for 7 years, manager at Starbucks for 3. I was an application support manager for Irvine Company Apartments for almost 3 years, doing that there as well. So it is very interesting to have such strong business acumen, but also be someone who sees life through such a spiritual way. So I think for me, kind of like with Berkeley, I want to be able to utilize the skill set that I have so far, but nothing lights me up more than doing my intuitive work. And photography comes close to a degree. And of course, we said that I love to sing too. And singing, I think I would love to have a career out of it, but I just love how I feel when I sing. And I think that's, I'll always be happy even if I'm just singing, sitting on my couch, posting videos to TikTok and Instagram. So yes, that's what I'm up to outside of my intuitive work.
By the way, people, I'm going to post our Instagrams, but you should definitely follow Wayne on TikTok. Go check him out. Check out his pages.
Oh yes, outside of my spiritual work, I am a teacher. I taught for a few years and got very disheartened with the way teaching is now. It's a little different than what I desired or wanted. So now I am doing I'm doing essay review, and I'm tutoring students live online. And I love what I do. And the essay review is great because it works. I'm a very logical, analytical person. I'm not analytical, but I'm very logical. Like, there's a process. And I love that when I'm doing essay review, it's one of my favorite things in the world. I get to go through these essays. I get to comment on but I do it we all have, the company I work with is very much so bent on Socratic method. So you don't tell someone what they need to do. It's like you lead the horse to water, they need to choose to drink. Like I have to question, going, what do you see we could change here? This is the rule. How can you change this to support this rule? I love that thinking. I love it. It works my brain and I enjoy it. I love working with the students live. I just had my first really good experience with it, where I worked with like 40 plus students in just a day, helping them with their various questions with English and writing and creative writing. And it was very fulfilling. And that's what I do in my time outside. And then working with my clients, every client I work with, I end up with this really wonderful connection with. And there's this family that has hired us, Daniel and I both. I love working with Daniel. I feel I shine my greatest when it's Daniel and I both working together. Our energies are very obviously they're very compatible, but our gifts are very compatible. Like I will get a message and he will literally be getting a similar, like another take on that same message at the same time. So it supports each other. And we have a family that's invited us a few times to work with them, and they want both of us. And it's always, every time I think I'm going to fail, that little gremlin in the back of my mind's going, "You're not going to do it. You can't." Like the kid in League of Their Own, "You're going to lose." And then I just go, I need to be Madonna, like chasing him around with the bat, going, "Get out of my head, go away." But as soon as I'm there and I just release and I get into it, I'm again like Berkeley, I am amazed at what comes out of my mouth. And I'm so grateful to be able to be that for people. But I feel blessed that I'm able to have both these sides of my life that fulfill me in different ways, but still allow me to feel fulfilled. And like I'm not just sitting here as a waste of space, as some people will describe themselves.
That was a really great point, to just trust yourself. And most of us fail, but when you feel it, just trust yourself. And you guys, people who watch the show, follow us all the time. Y'all know that over the years, I'm an actor. I do stand-up comedy. Christian and I launched our production company. We co-host Christian and Daniel show on Wednesdays. Check us out. And I didn't do Card People yesterday because I felt sick. I was a little tired. But we were coming back. We're coming back with that. Over the years, I wrote a book. So Grumpy Bunny and the Colors Game is out in English and Spanish. It'll be out for sale pretty soon. Everything that I do spiritually. And this is the prototype for my own deck of cards, which will be coming out soon.
Oh.
I'm still finishing it out. There's a lot of technicalities that went through it, but I created my own deck of cards. So I will have 101 cards in my house now.
Understand, folks, he has a carry-on packed, a carry-on piece of luggage, literally carry-on size, packed to the brim with decks of cards.
So, and hopefully, do what?
You never know what you're going to need.
Hopefully, you folks at home watching will have my deck of cards in your arsenal to work.
I call him the Carrie Bradshaw of cards.
Yes.
She has
the
city, and he has his case of cards.
So before we go again, I want to remind y'all, this is the email address. If you are interested in being part of the new generation of Light Knights and curious about what your gifts are and want to learn more, send me an email with the information. Let me show you our connection so you can log on to us. This is all of us. This is our Instagram handles. So go check them out. Anything you post, please hashtag Real Mexican Productions Inc. And you can go to littlemexicanproductions.com for our website. And all our shows air on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So make sure that you go check this out. If you miss anything, please go back and watch the show. If you think somebody would be interested, please share that with them. If you're following us on any of those channels, please save us, like us, share it with your friends. If you're watching us on YouTube, do us a favor, scroll down, hit that
subscribe button.
Subscribe, and then the notification bell so that you get notified every time there's a new show on the air. These are the shows. Make sure you put them on your calendar, remember them, follow us, check us out. And for now, again, thank you, the three of you.
You're welcome.
It was
thank you, guys.
Thank
it
you.
was such a leap of faith to start Light Nights back in 2012, and it was so beautiful to know that people believed in me somehow, and more so believed in yourselves to be able to go like, yes, I want more. So thank you. I love you guys.
Thank you.
Love you.
It's
Sending
been
hugs. Love you guys.
With nothing else, I want to thank all. Oh, we have one more coming before we go. Oh, thank you. Thank you so
You're very
much.
welcome. Yes, thank you to everybody that tuned in. Tag your friends if you have friends who you think might benefit from the class too, or might actually enjoy this live as well. So
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
had a lot of people in like the original Light Nights who were referrals from people who were already there,
Mhm.
and they ended up. It basically changed everyone's life who touched it. So,
In fact, she commented, Angie's right there.
Yeah.
oh yes, Angie Sheets.
All right, guys. Anything else before we go?
No.
All right. Bye.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye.